years experience.
Okay.
So now I moved to cloud technology like AWS.
All right. Okay. Aman, hi. Abhinand.
Hi, sir.
Hello, hi.
I'm a fresher, just BCA graduate.
All right.
I would like to start a career in Linux. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay. So, Aman, you can talk to me, Aman. There's no need of texting. You can just unmute and talk to me. No problem. आप हिंदी में बात करना चाहते हो तो हिंदी में भी बात करो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं। Yeah, just unmute and talk. Ganesh, are we expecting few more people here? Okay, fine. So I think that's it. So let's start the session. Okay. So some of you came for Linux. Some of you came for learning AWS. Some of you are here for DevOps, if I'm not wrong. Correct? Yes? No?
Yeah, that's correct.
Communication should be two-way. We are not doing one-way communications. All right. So now let me explain you how the market is first of all. Okay. That way you will understand your requirements properly. Okay. So let the whiteboard load. I'll talk to you. Any others join? I hope you should be seeing my screen by now. Can
Yeah,
you
we
see
can.
me? Yes?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Let us have a look. So first of all, some of you are here for learning Linux. Some of you came for AWS. Some of you came for DevOps. Let us talk about this. Okay. Earlier, there used to be Linux administrators, correct? Hello?
Yes, yes, correct.
So now all the Linux administrators are DevOps engineers. There are very limited number of openings for Linux admins right now because everyone moved to cloud. Some cloud technology is embedded into every project. Without cloud, no project is running these days. Even if there are some opportunities in the data centers that belong to the companies, the pay as well as the what do you call it? The requirements are very low. So now coming to Linux, what will you learn in Linux is something which you will be asking me. So Linux, we will deal with system administration, server administration, as well as automation by using Ansible. Again, Ansible is a DevOps tool. Nowadays, this is a configuration management tool. We will be using configuration management tool called Ansible. What I recommend people who are just looking for Linux is to go for Linux, AWS, and DevOps. You may think that why go into DevOps right now? After 2 years, 3 years, you should be going into DevOps. After 2 years, 3 years from AWS, you will be moving into DevOps, even if you are a cloud engineer these days. Even if you are a Linux administrator these days. Even if you are DevOps engineer these days, the roles and responsibilities are remaining the same. The roles and responsibilities are remaining pretty much same. So I always tell people to go for DevOps because you will not be needing any upgrades in coming years. So let us talk about things one by one, one by one, one by one. Let us talk about DevOps. And let us also talk about Linux and AWS. And where are Linux administration as well as AWS? Where are these things sitting inside DevOps also? We will have a look at. This will give you the comprehensive idea of why we are going to learn DevOps instead of learning one by one, one by one, and one by one. So whenever you are a middleware admin, for example, you are a storage admin, you are a backup admin. So you all belong, you're for example, you're Linux administrator. You all belong to the family of support. And nowadays, if you have a look at the development, everyone is vouching for full stack development because more skills, more better. So support is also moving through to move towards DevOps, not moving towards DevOps. It already moved towards DevOps. So let us have a look at what is DevOps first of all. Then we will go ahead one by one, one by one. We will discuss things. DevOps. So when coming to DevOps, DevOps is combination of two things. DevOps is not a tool, not a software. DevOps is a nuance. It is called a nuance. Nuance are the set of principles you follow for smooth releases. For smooth releases. Earlier, this DevOps used to be called as build and release engineering. Build and release engineering. But these days, we are calling it as DevOps because development and operations go hand in hand. Operations go hand in hand in DevOps. So earlier, if you remember, if you have 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience, earlier you used to listen that every company makes applications. How will the application be made? First, there was requirement gathering. Then there was planning. Then there was coding. Then there was building. Then there was testing. Then there was release, deployment otherwise, and then monitor. This is what used to happen in companies. So when this was happening in the companies, what was happening? There was no clear communication between the teams. Communication between the teams was a big headache. So what happened is they wanted to make a collaborative environment where they want to send the projects out. And most of you will be using Android devices, iPhones, anything, correct? What phone are you using? Anyone, you tell me. What phone are you using right now? You're using an Android phone or an iPhone?
Android, sir.
Android. What version of Android are you using right now? What version of Android is it? 11? 12?
11.
11. Okay.
Hmm.
So you're using the version number 11. So there were earlier 10 versions of Android, correct or not? And one thing you have seen over these 11 versions is Android is getting better and better and better. Correct or not? What
Correct,
is
sir.
better and better? More features are coming into picture. Every 4 months, one release will be there, or every 6 months, one update will be released. And within 1 year, the Android version changes. And then there are so many changes that are coming. So something is happening continuously. Correct or not? Something is happening in the background continuously. What is happening? Continuous integration and continuous delivery is happening in the background. So when you come to the DevOps, there is a loop in DevOps. Let us have a look at the DevOps loop once. You will understand it. Where sits, what will be discussing now. So now let us come here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Somewhere it should be there. Okay. Let us have a look at it. So this is the continuous loop. You all know this symbol. This symbol is infinity symbol, correct or not? Yes or no? This is an infinity symbol.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Infinity means never ending, correct or not? Infinity means never ending. It is continuous. So now if you see, first planning is being done, coding is done, building is done, testing is done, going for release, deploy. The software is operated. It is monitored. So after monitoring, they will go for planning again. What is happening here? First, according to the basic requirement, one code will be made, and that is built into a software. Once they build that into a software, they will go for testing that software. Once they test the software, everything is fine, they will go for release. Once they go for release, they will deploy the application onto the environment. For example, earlier there used to be VMs, now it is containers. On the containers, everything is deployed. Once it is deployed, it is operated. Once it is deployed, everyone can use that particular software. For example, let us say we have something called, for example, let us take my project. There is something called ASUS, right? Or there is something called Essex. You all know the Essex shoe company, right? Let us have a look at Essex. Essex. So let us have a look at the Essex website. So this particular website is made on a web server or a web application server. For example, let us say Tomcat server is there, some other server is there. On some web server, this particular software is made. If you have a look at this particular software, there are so many things. For example, you have men's section, women's section, kids section, sports style, different things are there. My account is there. You can add something to the bag. You can check out the regular e-commerce website. This is correct or not? Yes or no? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So today we are having a look at something like this. Tomorrow, for example, if I want to make some update, some sale is running, I want to put some more features in the sale. What I will be doing, I will be going ahead and creating some features such that that sale goes on. For example, Great Indian Festival is going on. Some additional information will be displayed on the website so that you can utilize it. Correct or not? For example, in Amazon.com, we all know, right? In Amazon.com, there happens a Great Indian Festival sale. Correct or not? In the Great Indian Festival sale, what happens? You will see something which is not usual on the website. You will be seeing great discounts, there will be so many modules that are getting displayed for a particular amount of time. Yes or no? Hello? Hello.
Yes, sir.
These are all the additional features that are getting added into a website. So like that only, if you are making a particular software, to make this software live sustainably, the updates are mandatory. Once you plan, once you code, once you build, once you test, once you deploy, once you release, operate, monitor, you will be having so many things that are coming into picture. I like it. So as a consumer of Amazon.com, I liked some features. I did not like some features. So I will get feedback from the users. According to the users, from version 1, I will make version 2, version 3, version 4, version 5. Like this continuously, I will be doing this thing happening. So now, when you have a look at a website, now I am coming to the question of where exists what. So now, especially Linux, AWS, everything I'll be discussing now. So when you are having a look at this complete flow, in this complete flow, there are so many tools that will get involved. So now, for example, let us say I have launched a website. I have launched a website. Where am I launching this website? I will be launching this website onto a server. And that particular server is a web server or a web application server most of the times. Let us say a Tomcat server it may be, otherwise an Nginx server it may be. These are all the web application servers where you will be launching your websites. So once the server is ready, this server should be running on Linux. Why is it running on Linux? Why is it not running on anything else? Because Linux is the operating system that is very sustainable when compared to the other operating systems. Why is it so? Even if you run the operating system continuously for an year or more than a year, Linux will less likely to be broken. And Linux is secure. The normal viruses which affect the Windows cannot affect Linux. So we will be choosing Linux because it is reliable. Now you have chosen the server. Now this server should be setting in an environment where it should be running. Either it is your data center. What is a data center? Data center is where the supercomputing happens. You all know, some of you might be knowing how the data center looks. So when you have a look at the data center is something that looks like this. Using the data center, we will be creating so many virtual machines and we will be creating servers onto them. Usually these data centers will be containing something like blade servers, rack servers, where you will be doing the networking, where you will be provisioning the resources, everything. Nowadays, maintaining the data center has become a big headache for people. So people turn to something called cloud. In cloud, you have different cloud service providers like AWS is there, Azure is there, Google Cloud Platform is there. There are several other platforms that are there. DigitalOcean is there. So many cloud service providers are there. These cloud service providers are maintaining data centers all over the world. And they are giving you a website, for example, something like aws.amazon.com. You can go into aws.amazon.com and you can make a project on one of their data centers. This is called cloud. Now what happens? Now, for example, I have 5,000 servers requirement or 10,000 servers requirement. Suddenly, my 10,000 servers requirement came down to 2,000 servers for a project, for example, let us say. So now I have to do the downgrading. When you do the downgrade of data center, you can't sell the data center tools at the same price you have bought. So now this revenue can be decreased by using cloud, because cloud follows pay as you go mechanism. Pay as you go means how much you use, you pay the bill for it and utilize it. So now your project which is there will be sitting on a Linux server, and that Linux server will be sitting on an infrastructure like AWS. Now, for example, if you want to maintain one particular server, you can manually do it. You have 10,000 servers. You can't maintain these 10,000 servers directly. So you are going to need a configuration management tool like Ansible. So by writing one script inside Ansible called playbook, you can make changes to thousands of servers at a time. And also, when you have a look at the AWS, you have to provision a lot in AWS. And for that, you will be using something called Terraform, which is infrastructure as code tool. Infrastructure as code tool. That days are gone where you are using the manual things for everything. Now it is the age and era of automation where you will be using everything. So how does a product or a project go out of the company? So first, let us have a look at different things that are there. First, let us understand what are the different things that are there in this particular release program, and you will understand it much more better. The role of Linux, the role of AWS, the role of different tools that are there, you will understand now. First, what happens? First, for example, a project is there. company will go for bidding, or the customer will come to the company and say, so and so project I want to make. For example, I want to make a project called Essex where I want to sell the shoes. Now we sell men's shoes, women's shoes, kids shoes, sports shoes, sports shoes, everything else. They will give us a requirement. We will take the requirement and give the requirement to developers. Now the developers will not be one developer or two developers. There will be so many developers who are there who will be writing the code. Now all the code they write, they will put it on GitHub. GitHub is a repository. GitHub is a repository. I'll show you the repository also. Let's have a look at it. GitHub. So when you have a look at GitHub, GitHub is a repository. It looks something like this. So now into the repository, for example, they will be putting files like this. Instead of putting them on a pen drive, instead of putting them on a CD or a Google Drive or something, they will be uploading everything onto the GitHub, which is where the repositories are present. Okay, what are the repositories? What are the types of repositories? We will talk when we are talking about GitHub. The code came into GitHub now. Once the code came into GitHub, GitHub is integrated with Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins does continuous integration and continuous delivery. So what happens? Jenkins is also connected to Maven. Maven is a build tool. Whatever small codes came now, for example, let us say Java it is. So now it is went into Maven. And also the unit testing is run here by using something called SonarQube. SonarQube is also used for the code quality here. Once the code quality is proper, Maven does what? Maven will compile all this code into a build. This may be something like a jar file if you are using Java. So once it comes to Maven, a dependency check will be done. Dependency check will be done, vulnerability scans will be done, everything is fine or not with the build will be checked in the dependency check. Then it is sent into Nexus repository. In this repository, whatever code version we have made, version 1 will be saved. Now what happens? Now using this version 1, it is sent into Docker. Docker is just like VM. You know VM, right? Sir, the one with 15 years of experience. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, Ram.
So you know VM, right? Same like VM, Docker is a lightweight container. It will be using resources and making a small image. This Docker image has the capacity to run the particular artifact that is coming from the Nexus. Now we does what? We sent it to Trivy. Trivy will also do the vulnerability checking on the Docker image. If something is wrong in Trivy, we will come back, we will make the Docker image again, and we will send the Docker image and do Docker push. Once we do the Docker push, whatever we have pushed will be deployed into Kubernetes. And after it is deployed into Kubernetes, your software is ready to be used. Then we will also use some tools like JAP for pen testing. So once it is done, we will be monitoring whatever software we have sent out. So in this, Jenkins is made on Linux, Maven is made on Linux, SonarQube made on Linux, Docker used with Linux. Everything is utilized on Linux. And all the machines which you are using, the Linux machines you have told, right? All these Linux machines which you are using are also provisioned on something called AWS. So to maintain this AWS and Linux, again, we have two tools called Terraform and Ansible. So this is the whole way of doing it. Monitoring, we will be using Prometheus, Grafana, etc. tools. So now if you have any problem, if you have anything, if you want to make rectifications, you will make a plan again. You will go for developers. Again, the same thing happens. Again, the same thing happens. Again, the same thing happens. And here in the Nexus, you will be finding V2, V3, V4, different versions will be there. And again, whatever code you are writing on Ansible and Terraform, that also you will be keeping on GitHub. So when you have a look at the DevOps as an environment, what happens here is one thing you have to understand is if you know Linux, if you know Linux, 30% of your DevOps learning is done. Nobody will tell you this. Nobody will tell you. Everyone will say, Linux basics you do, sir. It is enough. You go for DevOps. These days, Linux, nobody is asking that. No, 30% of DevOps is Linux administration and shell scripting. When you do Linux administration and shell scripting, we are going to use Red Hat for learning Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We will be using 8 and 9 both. 7 also I will tell you because some of you will be putting across some experience. So 7 also I will tell you. So now Linux administration, once you learn, you will understand what to do using configuration management Ansible. And shell scripting will form the basics of scriptings like AML, JSON, which we will be using in the DevOps. Next, AWS. Once you learn the AWS, what happens is this AWS can make you understand how to provision the resources. For example, if you want to run a particular server, how to run it, what is needed, what network is needed, how to connect, what are the different types of servers you will be learning here. So in AWS, you have Route 53 service. This service is DNS inside Linux. For example, if you have something called IAM, Identity Access Management, which is users and groups in Linux. You have S3, you have EBS, which will also become disk management in Linux. So your AWS basics are also fitting inside Linux. So learn Linux, AWS, and then we will be starting with the DevOps tools. We will be having look at DevOps tools like Git, Ansible. I have already told you, right? Once you learn AWS, Terraform becomes much easier for you. Git we will learn, Ansible we will learn, Terraform we will learn. Then Docker we will be learning. Artifactory, Nexus we will be learning. Maven we will be learning. For the DevOps pipelines, the heart of DevOps, Jenkins we will be learning. Kubernetes basics we will be learning. Then we will be learning Prometheus, Grafana, different tools we will be learning. So once you have done this thing, you will have an understanding about how support is running these days. Because if you want to go into support, go into the support where it is completely sustainable, right? It is not like you want to learn a small part of it and go, and then learn something else and go, and then learn something else. Don't do that, because someone, for example, some sir is having 15 years of experience. I tell him not to go alone for Linux, because if you go for Linux alone, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you should be learning all these tools again and again and again and again. You have to learn. So don't do that. Go for DevOps. If you have any questions, you can ask me the questions. Any questions, you can ask me questions. Any questions regarding the course, regarding the career options, anything if you want to ask, you can ask me now. Anything?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, hi Ram.
Yeah.
Hi.
One at a time, please. One at a time. One at a time, please. Chiranjeevi. Yes, Chiranjeevi, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Right now, you are telling about that we have to learn different types of languages while we are, like getting the subject of DevOps, right? Like
Correct.
there are a lot of these Docker, Kubernetes there
Correct.
and here. So while we are working on it, we have to use all this stuff and all, or else we are going to use only few tools according to the project.
According to the project, only few tools. Nobody will be asking you to work on the 15 or 16 tools that you have seen until now. For example, take my scenario. I'm using Terraform, AWS, Linux, and something like EKS. So this is again Kubernetes service that is there on AWS. So you might not be working with all the tools that are there. Nobody will give you the all tools access because they will mess it up. So you will be given a limited responsibility where you will be working with it.
Okay, how can we know that responsibility? Okay, we have to work on these tools only. I should
They will
not
tell
touch
you,
other
no?
tools or something
They
like
will
that.
tell you. They will
Oh,
hire you for a so-and-so role. So you
okay.
will definitely understand.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? Somebody else was asking a question. Abhinand, I guess. Abhinand?
Hi,
You
sir. My English pronunciation is not much good.
Telugu, Hindi,
Malayalam, Kerala.
Kerala. I don't know Malayalam, man. If you can.
Yeah, I will try in English, sir.
No
If
problem.
any
No
problem.
problem.
Okay.
No problem.
I'm a fresher. So,
Okay.
is there that much vacancies in this DevOps career?
Yes. They are hiring these days. Freshers as DevOps instance. No problem. We can go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Even if you are not hired for DevOps engineer, you have Linux, you have AWS, you have DevOps, you can apply for the multiple positions also. So if you tell them that you have expertise on Linux, AWS, and DevOps, they will definitely take it.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Kishore, Aman, Nagbabu, Joy, Lakshmi Narayana. Your voice is getting disconnected. Hello? Kishore?
Sir, network issue, sir. Network issue, sir.
Network?
Issue, sir. Network issue.
Network issue. Okay, ask. Now I can hear. Anybody else? That's it? Hello. Ganesh? Yeah, Veera. Yes, go ahead, please.
Mostly what are the tools we need to concentrate on before going to the job, like preparation?
See, if you want to go into the job immediately, if you want to get a job, I definitely tell you to focus on Terraform, Ansible, a bit of Jenkins, and Docker. This will do. And Linux and AWS will always be
Linux and
there.
others. Okay.
That they will always be there. These are the tools that will definitely get you a job.
Okay.
Anything else, brothers? I think Ganesh, you can take over, I guess. Ganesh, are you there? Any other questions? If you don't have questions, we can conclude it.